In today's video, we will go over how to GPS collect using ArcGIS field maps in a EOS Aero Gold Plus GPS unit. We will show you how to download field maps, access the maps pre-configured, setting up your GPS unit, and best practices, including GPS unit application configurations, the actual GPS collecting of water valves, post offline map updates for field maps, and some further GPS collecting tips and tricks.
The first step, of course, is to download field maps. So what we'll do is go to our App Store, click Search, and just type in field maps. You'll see ArcGIS field maps with the blue icon here. Mine says open because I already have it downloaded. So just click the Get button. Once you have it downloaded, it will ask you to sign in, or you can skip the sign in. For all of the data security purposes, we will need to sign in with ArcGIS Online. The maps that we set up at RCAP will be shared with your user through a secured group. So the only way to keep the data secured and not in the public domain is to log in. A quick, nice tip is to use Apple Keychain. I have my field maps login saved. Use my Face ID. If your company doesn't allow Face ID, typically you can use your passcode, or you can put your password and username in your notes. And just be aware that the username is not case sensitive, but the password is case sensitive. I have a ton of maps working with lots of communities, so I built a demo map today for demonstration purposes. It will show in the top left the online map icon in the light gray, and then the map areas in light gray. Anything with map areas means it's an offline map that's downloadable. So we can click this down arrow with the square to go ahead and download this preset offline area. Now, this offline area was created in ArcGIS Online. I can show that backend step. Typically, we'll try to create offline preset areas for utility employees to easily be able to download their entire utility boundary and all the assets within it. Now, if RCAP or another entity or yourself as utility did not set up offline area, you can do it inside the app. First, I'm just going to show that now that it is downloaded, you can click on it, and now we have our offline area extent, which limits the satellite imagery, and we have some parcel boundaries in here, which is the neighborhood that I reside in, Waterford, New York. Now, again, if that offline map was not available, under that gray online map, you can see they changed directions. Now we have current at the top, meaning that's the latest map that you utilize. So if we hit the three dots and hit add offline area, we can scroll to our extent. So I have aerial imagery across New York right here, and I have parcel data for the entire town of Waterford in its jurisdiction. I'm going to zoom into the neighborhood that I reside in that we're going to use as test data and change this level of detail to small building or building, whichever of those typically fine. Small building will utilize more space on your phone. So if you don't have a lot of memory available, you're going to want to have to use the building option or even larger. Just know you can't zoom in as much if you do that. So I'm going to hit small building and hit download area. This shouldn't be a large area. It should be about the same as the preset area of 130 megabytes. In my experience, the largest offline area I've set up has been upwards to 2 gigabytes. Sometimes we have to branch off different offline areas if a utility is very spread out, rural, etc. So we'll let that download. But just do know that all of these maps will work almost identically. There's just a slight difference, which we'll get into the details when we start GPS collecting. But to show a quick glimpse, when we hit our current offline area, you'll see at the very top, we have the sync arrows, which go down and up. So after we collect data, this is going to show where all the data is to sync to the online map. So if you have coworkers using the phone or a manager in the office that's looking at the data, they can see it in real time as soon as you have internet connection, whether it's mobile data on your phone or Wi-Fi in the office. So just keep that in mind. We have some customers that do like to use mobile data. They don't want to mess with offline areas. But the downside is it will take longer to upload photos. If I go back to the online map now, you'll see you don't have the down arrow, the up arrow. We can just go ahead and collect the data and we don't have to sync it. It will in real time collect the data. Again, this will make more sense as we GPS collect. I just wanted to show the back end of getting an offline map and an online map configured. We back out to the main page. You'll see my maps, current. Current will always be at the top. On the device means any data that is downloaded offline. And then all the remaining maps will be in here as well. Part two of this setup, once you log in, there are settings that we try to inherently attach to your user. However, you want to double check these settings, ensure that they're correct for the best collection experience, and that's what we'll do now. So if we start at the very top collection settings, I like to set my accuracy at about 15 feet. Now, the reason for this is we have had some data under a tree or close to a building that can only achieve 8 to 12 feet rather than less than a foot that our GPS unit is typically capable of. The 95% confidence is a good setting to turn on. It requires a certain amount of accuracy before allowing the GPS unit connected to your phone to collect that asset. GPS averaging, while not everybody uses this, in my experience, it has improved the accuracy of the data when you're locating. So instead of just collecting 1 point, it's collecting 5 points, then it's merging those 5 points together. I'll go in further detail when we are GPS collecting. The streaming you don't have to really worry about unless you're streaming line data. And so what this would be if you're driving by and you want a point to be collected every 10 feet or 20 feet, or you could change it to time and put every seconds or minute. So that can be helpful for certain applications, but in the utility realm, I have not seen a use for that. The photo upload size I do like to put at large. Extra large or actual will take up a lot of memory and it will take up a lot of time when uploading the data if you're using real-time internet mapping. If you're using offline mapping, it will sync the photos when you have that internet connection. But again, I think large is the nicest balance between efficiency and quality and not getting our geodatabases too large to accessibly share with others. Related types, we can show related types and turn that on, and that's going to allow related tables, which are used for inspection data. We'll get into this later on, but essentially, if you inspect the same manhole twice in 1 year or hydrant, and you want to record different data such as pressure, water loss, or change in the invert elevation or any cracks in the manhole, all of this can be done through related tables. Lastly, snapping should be turned on. This will allow you to snap point assets such as valves to the water mains or gravity mains to the manholes.
Now that we have our collection settings configured, you want to ensure that your provider is set to your GPS unit. Otherwise, using the integrated option, we'll use your phone GPS chip. If you try to click on the GPS unit while it's not turned on or in signal, it will not allow you to have that check mark. For the profile, we have the RTK set up because our Gold Plus unit is capable with RTK corrections. We do have to configure this to match with the EOS Tools Pro app. Here are the settings configured for the RTK. The SBAS has slightly different configurations, and this will be used for Aero 100 units and units that don't have the RTK capability. So you can create this profile by setting up the coordinate system and the other settings, which we won't go into today, but if you need help, RCAP will help you the settings in your EOS Tools Pro app. We can actually save the profile by clicking the button at the bottom after you properly configured all of your settings, which you'll have to check with your state. This is an example for New York. We have two different options configured. I can delete this third option that I was troubleshooting and click done, and you'll just click the start button to stream. To accurately determine your antenna height, you must first put your GPS unit on your GPS pole, extend it fully, and then measure with a tape measure from the very bottom of the rod to the very top of the antenna. So we have 87 inches for this unit with this particular quick release pod. If you're not tall enough, you can place it on the ground and measure from the bottom, same. If you purchase a EOS Aero quick release pole, you can actually detach your GPS unit and use a roof mount that can be mounted onto your vehicle. I recommend the side of your vehicle because if you do the center, it's hard to reach. This will help for GPS collections in rural, remote areas that you have to go point to point. To walk properly with a GPS unit, you want to ensure that it's in an upright position. I like to lay it on my shoulder instead of walking forward where you're going to lose connection to the satellites. You want to ensure that is upright. At the top of the screen, the Bluetooth GPS unit has disconnected. So we're going into the Bluetooth settings and manually clicking the Aero Gold Plus. Sometimes the GPS unit will automatically connect, while other times you have to manually select it as such. Field maps will alert you to say the GPS unit is now connected, and we will see a GPS accuracy, and it will slowly start to drop. Typically, you want to have at least 2 minutes of clear sight with your unit connected. Right now, it's showing how long it can take your unit to reconnect once you lose Bluetooth connection. This is typically when you are too far from the device, such as your phone or tablet, or you have a bad connection. Sometimes you'll want to completely turn off your Bluetooth and turn it back on. And now we'll see our accuracy continue to drop. As our GPS accuracy continues to improve, since we reconnected our Bluetooth GPS unit, we want to ensure that our RTK corrections from the mobile internet and base stations is configured properly. This will give us accuracy even within an inch. So let's go ahead and go back in the top left. We can click that to go to our profile in the top left icon and double check that our location profile is set to RTK. And now we can open up EOS Tools Pro, check the RTK status, and we have to make sure that we start streaming. You can set predefined profiles, and now that we see the RTK data is streaming, we can go back to our field maps and ensure that we are getting the better accuracy. But first, I always like to double check the RTK status tab, which will let you know of any diagnostics issues. And just know that it can take up to a minute or two once you start streaming the RTK. Which RTK stands for real-time kinetic. Again, it's mostly utilizing mobile internet, and now we can see that our GPS accuracy is around 1 inch versus 1 foot. So now if we watch my blue dot, I'm going to walk towards the back of the home underneath the patio, and we'll see that accuracy goes from 1 inch up to 4 inches and then completely off to 20 feet. So this will happen if your view is obstructed, you're underneath the building. And so now I will walk back out, and it can take a little bit to reconnect with both the satellites and the mobile internet base stations for that RTK. So just expect to have around that 1 to 3 feet accuracy until you reestablish your RTK network, which sometimes involves opening back up the EOS Tools Pro app and checking your settings for getting any diagnostic issues. Sometimes we will have to start streaming again. Let's double check now, and we can see our accuracy is already dropping back to under a foot at least. We can see the GPS accuracy at the top center of our screen. Click the plus button in the bottom right to GPS locate the asset we're on, which is an inline valve. We are going to take a photo and to show you that we are on Davis Drive. I'm going to zoom in here. Alright, so now once you're in positioning, seeing the other two valves, a T in this distance, we can click use photo or retake if necessary. We're going to scroll down and go ahead and put that street name in. I'm also going to copy the street name so I can paste it for any other asset that I GPS collect. Put the install year if you know it. Put in the surface type, the location description as intersection, and all of this information is good if you export into Excel or a table that's shared with someone that does not have the GIS access. Put your size of the valve, which is most important. See, we're putting a condition assessment. We're going to put good. And this valve is a clockwise right to open, so that's also important to put if they are in your system. And any comments can go there. And below the comments we have last exercise dates, inspection years, additional information that's not used as often. Now you can see my blue dot moving as I walk to the next inline valve. I'm going to use the offline area this time. I'm going to rename it. There we go, Waterford neighborhood. I'm going to show how much quicker this time the point GPS locates and collects the information. Clicking the sync button at the top with the arrows to ensure the valves I just GPS locate show up, which was just that one I did a second ago. Now we can see the GPS averaging in the top center of our screen. So it went from a 1.1 inch to 0.6 inches using RTK, and now it's showing that we are on Terry Avenue instead of Davis Drive. So we want to take a photo with the other valve, and the distance to the curb in the photo is helpful. Going to take one more photo for that purpose. Not always necessary. Again, you can put the same information for the install year, since they're all installed same year, and we can actually duplicate features, and I'll show you that when we GPS collect manholes, so you don't have to put the same information as you did in the last valve or manhole, etc. And yeah, we can put the same info, hit submit. And we'll just recap it one more time. As you see my blue dot moving again to GPS the last valve to make the T. Now we can see both valves in this photo, at least a little indentation. We're going to use the same info. There's even the recent values button, which you can use for your street name. I copied the address earlier, so whichever works. The last example of a water utility asset we'll GPS locate is a hydrant. The caps are painted orange, so we are clicking the orange option. If your hydrants aren't fire flow painted with AWWA recommendations, we do have a basic hydrant layer symbology as well. We can get the Castier on the front or back of the hydrant, as well as the manufacturer, as long as it's not deteriorated too badly. We can mark if there's a stamp visible if you want to number your hydrants, which is recommended, especially when you have a GIS mapping system to pair with it. I have my list of manufacturers, putting the Castier in, and a model would be additional info. So we're just going to submit this, and now we do have our hydrant added to the map.
This demo map was created for a water distribution system. However, let's say if we wanted to add some wastewater layers to this map, We can't use our pre-existing offline area because when we downloaded this area, it only had water distribution layers added to the map online. If we go to the online map, I did just add the sewer collection layers. We click on our three squares to the layers tab. We can hide the water and see that our sewer collection layers are there. So when we GPS collect, we can go scroll to the bottom and now see that we have sewer manholes and sewer mains and laterals to add. If we need that offline area again, what we can do is remove the pre-existing offline areas. It will still present you to download the old offline area unless we make updates to the online configuration with the new layers. We will want to create a new offline area. You can use the same detail, small building, scroll to our extent that we need the offline area for, and hit download area. We can rename this area after it downloads to say water and sewer. So that way we know our offline area was set up properly. We can click the menu button here and go to Field Map Designer. We can click on our map here, and there's going to be an offline tab. We go to our offline tab, it'll ensure that all of the layers are configured correctly to work with offline map areas. To check this setting, we can go into the layers individually, go to settings, and make sure that enable sync is checkmarked. Now, if we go to our manage areas, we have our predefined offline area. What we can do is hit recreate offline area. This will add all the new layers that we added to the map, the sewer collections, and repackage it for that offline area. Now, if I refresh the maps on field maps, we can now see that it is generating. Until the map area is finished packaging, it will have the new layers inside it to re-download. This can be good when you have lots of utility employees that need to download the new offline area instead of using their existing offline area. Area to download it, so I can say water and sewer offline, and I'll put today's date. Now when we hit the plus icon, we can scroll down and see we have the sewer manhole, gravity, and lateral mains that we can add. Now that we've added the wastewater layers to our offline area, we can GPS locate the manhole. So just like the valves and hydrant, we will take a photo of the manhole. And I just use the zoom out mode on my camera, which can be helpful to capture more of the relative boundaries. We can put a zone number, and manhole numbers are very good to have. If you have hundreds of manholes, it's good to do 001. And we can put the different type as a drop manhole, our address, and any information below. So we'll submit that. The cool thing with field maps too, we can hit the three dots in the top right and hit the measure button. We can actually measure from one manhole to the next. This can be very helpful when locating buried up manholes that are typically 300 feet across from each other. In this instance, though, the next manhole is looking to be about 100 feet. Walking just a little further, so yeah, we can see about 97 feet. I'm going to GPS locate this manhole as well. I'm going to zoom out again, take the photo, and just submit that point. I didn't fill out any information that time. Now I walked past the manhole. I'm going to GPS locate the fourth manhole on this street. I'm going to fill out the information one more time, but I will show on the next manhole that we can actually duplicate all of this attribute information in a click of a button, so we don't have to keep filling it out over and over. I also did notice that this manhole covers from 1975, so I've updated that. So I'm walking over to the manhole I skipped, and I'm going to click the plus button in the bottom right with the second square, and when I click that, it will duplicate the manhole with the new location. If you click the plus button, you won't have this option, so I'm going to select that manhole we just GPS collected. The halo pops up, and now it will transfer all of that information except for the photo, which you want a new photo, new GPS coordinates anyways. And now we have the ID that we can change from 4 to 5. Install year's already there, the street name's already there, every other attribute from the last manhole. So that's a very quick way that we can GPS locate using the duplicate feature.